We are discussing body modification. Now, earlier on the show, we stated how, we looked at how the advancement in science is also, in this particular sector. And we're also asking, where do you draw the line? We have a guest in the studio named Dr. Salami. He is a beauty esthetician and a physiotherapist, also known as Coke Body. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. Very
Welcome
well.
to the show.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for coming and coming on time. Wow,
Yeah.
thank you so much. All right, now
You're
before
welcome.
we get straight into the conversation, there's someone who is popular on
Yeah.
social media as a Diary of a Niger Girl, Ifedayo Aguru, and she underwent surgery for health reasons. And this is a conversation we have decided to start with because in the first hour of the show, we discussed how people do it for confidence or just to look beautiful. What's your professional opinion on body modification?
Okay, basically body modification is actually, it's a healthy step. Not just for beauty, but also for comfort. To be very honest, like it's always said in practice, 90% of human existence is all about your wellness mentally, your wellness physically, and also your wellness in your lifestyle. So it takes a long way to be able to achieve all three simultaneously. So my take is there's nothing wrong with body modification as long as it's done within the parameters of the ethics.
Okay, okay, some people have come out to say that instead of going under the knife, why don't you, for instance, people who want to reduce the fat in their stomach and all of that, why don't you just commit and be disciplined in the gym and your eating compared to going under the knife? A lot of times when we see stories like this on the internet, that is what people are saying. What would you respond to that?
Okay, my response would be that it's not all cases that the gym could solve. It's not all cases that could be solved by doing non-invasive body sculpting practices. There are some circumstances or some situations that just has to be done or solved under the knife.
All right.
For example, like the video we just saw, yes, that's one of such cases. You see the discomfort that comes with knowing that you don't have the kind of body you wish to have, and then going through pains and discomforts generally in your daily lifestyle and ethics can go a long way to demoralize you.
Actually.
Yeah, so it's actually a thing of the mind. It works with psychology.
Right.
So when you're not good with something about your body, each time you look into the mirror, you feel disappointed at yourself. It can shut you down by the day.
Affecting your self-esteem
Yes,
and
affecting your
confidence.
self-esteem, your confidence. You can't coordinate things properly, and it becomes a very big issue in life.
All right.
So I would say modification, it's a win thing for me.
It's a win thing.
Yeah,
now, you
it's a
said
win
something
thing.
about non-invasive, body sculpting.
Yes,
What are the different ways one can actually undergo body modification?
Okay, there are quite various methods to go through to achieve body modification. Okay. One of such ways is the non-invasive body sculpting we just talked about. And that is divided into quite like 4 or 5 different aspects. We have the maderotherapy, that's the wood therapy, or the metallotherapy, which is the metal sculpting, where you have different rollers that can be used to be able to break down fat cells in the human body and then soften them for natural excretion from the body. Then we also have what we call the lipocavitation procedure, which is a procedure that is done through an ultrasound equipment that helps to convert fat cells to amino fluids, and afterwards they are dispersed out of the body naturally without affecting any of the body cells. Okay, we also have another procedure that is known as the radiofrequency procedure, which is working at an average frequency of 470 to 500 hertz, right? It's more or less similar to the infrared, but it's different. What it does is it helps to firm up the skin. It triggers the production of collagen fibers in the body, which eventually gives you a very smooth and tight skin. So it makes the skin very tenable and elastic. So we also have another procedure that is equally known as the HIFU procedure. The HIFU procedure helps to target the muscles down in the depths of the body, trains your muscles, similar to what you achieve when you keep gymming for months, right? So all of this is like an encompassed treatment model.
Okay, so I'm just smiling because when you said gym, it's similar to the gym.
Yeah, I'm just like,
so I don't just go to the gym.
yeah, I can just pay for, you know.
Okay, so now that's for non-invasive, right?
That's for
So
non-invasive.
then
Yeah.
what is the other type, or what are the
invasive.
other categories? of
Okay,
it?
we have other categories or other types of body modifications, like the invasive ones. That's the ones we do with needles, piercing, and those are like achieved with body fillers. Sometimes there are invasive infusions of hyaluronic acid to be able to assist the human body tissues to mold properly. So we have fillers that are used for parts like the butts, like the upper breast section, and then sometimes the lower chain areas of the face you want to modify to be able to have that self-confidence you've always craved for when you look in the mirror, you know. And then we also have the surgical aspects too, like similar to the ones in the video, in the one in the
Yes,
video we
Ife.
just saw. That's a proper surgical procedure. We have plastic surgeries too, and you know, all forms of surgeries too exist.
All right, let's talk about misconceptions. All right.
Okay.
I mean, earlier on the show, I was telling you about a friend of mine who wanted to do liposuction, and she came to me for advice and just, you know, counsel, and I was heavily against it because I was like, why don't you just go to the gym? But obviously, you're helping us understand something. So let's talk about misconceptions. The other day on Instagram, I saw a lady who was injecting stock cube into her butt, you know, as replacing the fillers. So people, we are seeing people online do very unhealthy things to their body because, you know, for instance, the Toke Makinwas, the Messi AK, you know, the Yabo Ojo, they've done their bodies and they look amazing. So what are the misconceptions around body modification, and can you maybe debunk some of those misconceptions?
Okay. First, I would say that the misconceptions are enormous. They are endless, right? And I think basically most of them are basically a function of illiteracy,
Interesting.
right? And secondly, some of them are a function also of not having adequate information about the subject you're talking about. Now, the viewpoint a surgeon will have will be definitely different from the viewpoint a roadside therapist might have. Now, your qualifications, your expertise, how much you have stayed in the industry can affect your viewpoint towards all of these things as a sculptor or as a therapist or as a surgeon. However, for the masses, it's different. People talk based on the experiences they've seen from Mr. A to Mrs. B, and that forms an opinion in their minds. So they must have had some cases that have gone down, that has gone wrong, and they feel, oh, it's just because the person went for surgery. But behind the scenes, there are procedures, there are ethics, there are steps that must be taken before somebody is subjected under the knife. Right. Now, most of all of these steps, most of all of these procedures are often not revealed to the public. So the public just forms an opinion and they hold on to that opinion and condemns because it went south.
This forms
What
the
if it went north?
misconceptions.
Right.
No one celebrates
Like
that.
Messi Eke, it went north and she's good. Toke
Yeah.
Makinwa, she's good. So nobody's going to be talking about that, but they will always be talking about the ones that went
The
south.
negative. Interesting.
So it's interesting to know, it's imperative to know that it's subject to everybody's individual opinion.
Right.
However, education plays a very vital role in assisting us to be able to embrace this fast-generating industry of reforming beauty via body modification.
Interesting.
All right, now, we've said a whole lot of things as regards the basics. So people, I want to believe at this point, people already understand that there's actually nothing wrong with deciding to modify your body. But now there's also the concept of peer pressure, why people do it. Some people do it because maybe they've seen their role model is Messi AK and they're like, they want Messi AK's body, or because maybe the person that they are dating likes it and they're not sure if they will even get married. And okay, so that as a premise. There's also a video that was trending online of someone saying that in the future maybe men wouldn't like silicone bodies, and maybe by then these bodies would have fallen because it is silicone or whatever material they used on them. How true is this, first in terms of, you know, people having the mindset on why they're doing it, and whether or not if they decide to go under the knife, it will have bad effects in the future for them?
Okay, I appreciate that viewpoint, and is quite an interesting one. Holistically, I would just say that there are various options in body modification, right? And it's imperative for everybody to know that my option might definitely not be your option because our genetics are different. That's why we have something we call the DNA. The DNA of each individual is different from that of the next person. That's why we can never have a duplicate of fingerprints, right? So what is peculiar to you is different from what is peculiar to me. So I cannot expect that I'm a pear-shaped person, for instance, and I want a V-shaped person's body. That is out of proportion. So there are what we call close range, modifications that has to be done on each individual. For example, my build, it might be possible for me to be able to achieve a six-pack. What about somebody who is small up and big down? Some people are size 12 up and they are size 14 down. And they want, a V kind of body or a straight body that is like a perfect H shape. Now, that might be very difficult to achieve for a surgeon or for a body therapist or a body sculptor. The reason is because you're choosing something that is so far off the range of possibilities for you as an individual. So it's imperative that every individual comes to embrace, first of all, your inner beauty, yourself. You have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to be confident of yourself. It starts from the mind. However, modifications can be done, but in a very little variance, right? So it's not something that you could just come out today looking like Bobrisky, tomorrow you want to look like Messier, next tomorrow you want to take token McDonald's shape. No. The human body has parameters, factors that are controlling what generates in our body, how we come about our different shapes. We're all different people, right? So it's imperative we walk around and within the confines of those parameters. We can't go outside of those parameters. It's against the law of nature.
Right.
Okay, so having said that, if somebody wants to achieve a particular body type and you're aiming at one person as a role model, it's imperative you compare your present, body shape to what that person was like before the person achieved that result, right?
Yeah.
Now, that will help you to be able to have a holistic and wholesome idea about what you're trying to achieve for yourself. So I cannot just come out and I've always, maybe everybody in my family has always been a size 8, size 10, and I'm aiming at being a size 6, for example. That might be very difficult. And eventually, the results might turn out to be temporary because you have gone far way out of proportion of the variances that are available to your body type. So that is why it's also important that there is a very good analysis of the human body, the person in question that wants to undergo the modification, to be able to see what factors can affect results and how well those results could be sustained.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So, and coming to the other point you mentioned about somebody infusing silicone and men rejecting silicone body types in the near future and all of that, I think it's still a function of education and exposure, right? Silicone bodies is just one out of the several various options we have for body modification, right? Now, why choose silicone? That might be a question that will have to be answered by the person who chose it. Now, some factors can affect the choice of an individual, someone's consenting to some of these options. Some factors like cost, factors like time it takes to be able to recuperate back on your feet, factors like how soon can I get this result? For example, I've seen cases of clients come to me and they're like, doctor, I really need this body. Okay, is it possible that within the next 2-3 weeks I get my desired body results? They just want everything to be done like magic, fast. In such circumstances, that kind of person might decide to consider surgery. Eventually, even if you go under the knife, you may not be back to your full fit until like a month or 2 afterwards, depending on how fast you're able to recuperate. Right? Now, that's what we call downtime.
Right.
Okay? Now, for the non-invasive sculpting, there is no downtime, but the modification comes up gradually. It's a gradual procedure. Everything in the human body takes place gradually. It's not magic. If you're going to the gym, for example, you can't get your desired body in 1 month.
Yeah.
No, it's not possible. You would have gone several months before you eventually get to be seeing the shape coming out. It's similar to non-invasive body sculpting too. So your desired result comes up gradually as you continue to follow the ethics and the instructions, the regulations, the guidelines you're being given. You see the body modification comes to reality. So surgical is also not a bad idea in itself, but you have to be very careful in making your choices and have a very good analysis of what your body type is and the options available to you in order for you to be able to get the best out of it.
Okay. Let's talk about the role of the government real quick, right? From your experience and from your perspective. Earlier on the show, we were talking about the NHS, how, the United Kingdom government, through the NHS, is able to even afford to give some people free surgeries for body modification. So all you can cite, mental health, low self-esteem, and the government will fully fund your surgery and all of that. Given the socioeconomic makeup of this country, given some of the misconceptions around body modification in the country, do you think, citing things like the national health insurance that is in Nigeria and all of that, do you think the Nigerian government can maybe have a role to play in debunking some of these misconceptions through support for this particular industry?
Yes, I think they can.
Okay.
Government can play a very big role in that debunking of such misconceptions. For a start, the government could look into areas like assisting people who have parallel experiences or qualifications in the line of some of these body modification industries to do better, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons why body modification is looking strange in the Nigerian industry is because it looks like a foreign thing that was handed down over to us. However, let us be realistic. The problems are not foreign. Some people grow up, having excessive body parts that is not in proportion to their real body parts. And they have a lot of discomfort with this. They have a lot of low self-esteem. Some people can't even look into the camera because of these things. That is not foreign. That's indigenous. It's local. It's here with us.
It's human.
So it's human. So the earlier the government also assists the masses to be able to embrace the fact that body modification is a part of life. It's expected to be a lifestyle. It's just like you run to the gym in the morning or you take a jog in the morning, you come back in the evening, you do smoothies, you do a whole lot of things to be able to keep your health going. That's also the viewpoint we need to adopt towards body modification. So if somebody is going under the knife to correct one or two inconveniences on his body or her body, it's not supposed to be seen as something outrageous or strange in effect, really. So the government can do a lot to help in that.
All right, I'm glad that we've touched on, different people's perception, and now you're saying government's perspective. Now, what is your final advice to Nigerians? Because now the government has not done the sensitization. What's your final advice to Nigerians who are considering, getting their bodies modified, and also to Nigerians who have misconceptions around body modification?
Okay, my advice or my opinion would be that if you're considering modifying a part of your body, it's not something you could do behind closed doors on your own. You need a proper consultation from qualified people, right? You need to be able to have, so to speak, like a proper analysis of what you expect to achieve and what the parameters of your body can allow you to achieve. So you need a health consultation, first of all, to be able to see, and besides there might be underlying health effects, health issues on that individual, unknown to the person himself or herself. So it's imperative that you go for a proper body checkup, and then afterwards you can also have advices, sound advices from medical practitioners, right? And then you can now find options that you need to be able to take to get your body properly modified.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Samuel Salami, for coming on the show today. I have learned a lot.
So
during that period where you were saying all those medical terms, the only thing I picked was radio frequency. That's the only thing I understand very succinctly. You are changing my mind about body modification. How about you?
Well, I don't have issues with it. We've worked together, so my own is going to be non-invasive. I'm not going to have to cut my skin because I want to. No, I don't.
Naturally, non-invasive. I never even knew that there were such procedures like that, similar to gymming and all of that. Very
so you light up when you heard that.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I should, consider Dr. Salami. Yeah.
Can I give you a 6-pack?
Yeah.